Good morning. I'm Cadet Major Anna Carolini Feria, a Group Commander for Massachusetts 20011 Air Force Junior OTC at South High Community School in Worcester, Massachusetts. Let's begin with the presentation of the colors, followed by the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance to follow. Group, stand. On my command, group, attend, hut.
Detail, up, left, face, present, arms.
Please remain standing for the national anthem sung by Christine Ferguson from South High Community School.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Cadet Javiana Hilton, please come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Present, arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms.
Order, arms.
Parade, rest.
Left, face. Forward, fight.
I would like to welcome our honored guests. First, Joan Santiago, Secretary of the Executive Office of Veteran Services for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Second, John Deaton, candidate for Senator of the State of Massachusetts, a U.S. Marine veteran, cancer survivor, father of 3 daughters, trial attorney, and author. Third, Dr. John Robinson, retired U.S. Marine Corps and Director of Veteran Services for the City of Worcester, Massachusetts. Fourth, Chaplain Alex from Hanscom Air Force Base Installation Chaplain. Fifth, Kristen DeMarkin, World War II veteran and the historian for Chapter 22, Veterans of the Battle of the Bulge, and his daughter, Deanna Kent. Sixth, a special thanks to Ronald Cormier, a director of Massachusetts Veterans Memorial Cemeteries, and Adam LeBlanc, administrative officer, for their support and allowing us to have the Worth 11 rededication in this beautiful facility. A sacrifice to be remembered and never forgotten is about 11. Oh, you guys can sit. I'm so sorry. That's my first time doing that. The Remembrance. A sacrifice to be remembered and never forgotten is about 11 military heroes, a story that was almost forgotten over 50 years, kept top secret by our government until 1994. In 1944, a brave African-American soldiers of the 333rd Field Artillery Battalion had left their homes to join the Allied effort on the front lines of World War II in Belgium. Known as the Battle of the Bulge, on the 16th of December of 1994, they provided crucial fire support at the siege of Baxtagan until they were overrun and captured the next day. On the 17th of December, the same day as today, 80 years ago, 11 of those heroic men broke away from being detained and found refuge in a village farmhouse in Worth, Belgium. The farmer families took the exhausted and half-starved men into their home. When the Nazi authorities learned of their abouts, supposedly by a neighbor farmer, they did not take the 11 soldiers as prisoners, but subjected them to torture and execution at the far corner of the farm's field. Despite their bravery and sacrifice, these 11 soldiers were omitted from the final Congressional War Crimes Report of 1949. Those African-American soldiers, known as the Worth 11, whose torture, suffering, and death at the hands of the Germans went unrecorded. Their story has landed on pages that were omitted from history, but not in the hearts of those residents of Worth, Belgium. In 1994, at the site of their execution, Herman Langer, just 12 years old at the time, never forgot the soldiers seated at his kitchen table. Not what he later saw in the Nerby pasture, the soldiers' bodies following brutal torture. On December 17th of 1994, on the 5th anniversary of the massacre, Herman revisited his old home place, reflecting deeply as he walked through the pasture where the murders had taken place when he was a boy. Using pieces of his own family gravestones, he made a cross, erecting it to the exact spot where the 11 men had been murdered. For 7 years, the files marked secret, gathered dust in the government National Archives. Upon discovering this 6-year secret event, a Massachusetts veteran, Kristen DeMarkin, who's seated with us today, had reached out to the veterans of the Battle of the Worth 11 in a monument to honor all fallen soldiers of the Battle of the Bulge. This monument is located outside this building for everyone to see. Our first guest speaker today is John Santiago, Secretary of the Executive Office of Veteran Services of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Please welcome Mr. Santiago.
Good morning, everyone. I have to apologize, my voice is a bit hoarse today, but it's so good to be with each and every one of you early this morning. I want to start off by just welcoming you to the Massachusetts Veterans Memorial Cemetery here in Winchendon, Massachusetts. I want to give a special thank you to Chief Buttman for really bringing this issue and the story up to me in my office, where before today or that experience in conversation with Chief and with the team, we had no idea of this story and the extraordinary 11 men that we're here to honor. I also want to just quickly thank the staff here in Winchendon, Director Ron Cormier Adam LeBlanc, Billy Lower, Karen Pasco, for what you do day in, day out to support and serve our military families over the course of the year, but particularly in moments like this. As Secretary of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, when it comes to veteran services, we do a lot of work in terms of policies and programs and services, but really one job that I uphold to the highest degree is the ability and the opportunity to really recognize the sacrifice of so many, not just active service members, but those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in years past. And today, we do just that. Particularly when it comes to the 11 members of the 333rd Field Artillery Battalion, black soldiers who fought with distinction at the Battle of the Bulge, and the unspeakable hardships they endured, brutally murdered in one of the most heinous crimes during World War II. For many years, that story went untold, but today we stand here to make sure that their bravery, their sacrifice, and their legacy are never forgotten. What the Weareth 11 represent is a far greater than their individual heroism. They symbolize the resilience of black troops who fought for freedoms abroad that they were often denied at home. They remind us of the long struggle for equality within our nation and the courage of those who served even in the face of injustice. Their story calls us to reflect not only on the past, but on the values we must carry forward. And here at the Executive Office of Veteran Services, these values that we cherish, justice, equality, and the dignity of every individual who wears a uniform, are values that we are committed to upholding every single day. So may we honor their memory by living up to the ideals that they fought for: unity, perseverance, and the belief in a better tomorrow. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to sharing this day and commemorations like this with each and every one of you as we move forward. Thank you.
Our next guest speaker is John Deaton, candidate for Senator of the State of Massachusetts. Please welcome Mr. John Deaton.
Good morning, everyone. It is an absolute honor for me to be here today. Now, when I was leaving this morning, Christy said, you know, that's an odd outfit, John. You got a black shirt with a red tie. I said, listen, the black shirt is we mourn the ultimate sacrifice that these men gave to our freedom. The tie symbolizes the blood that they shed for every single person's freedom in this room. So what we're here today is about freedom. It's the fight for freedom, and it's the ultimate sacrifice that freedom sometimes requires. Before I talk about these incredible 11 men, let me set the tone. And I'm going to paraphrase a Marine chaplain who served in World War II by the name of Dennis O'Brien. He wrote a poem called "It is the Soldier." And I noticed that there's reporters here, and it's important to know that it is the soldier, not the reporter, who gives us the freedom of press in this country. It is the soldier, not the poet, who gives us freedom of speech. And I notice around the world today in America, including the Commonwealth, we see lots of protests on our campuses about events worldwide. So I want all the young people on those campuses to know it is the soldier, not the community campus organizer, who gives us the freedom of expression, the freedom of demonstration, because it is the soldier who salutes that flag, who serves under that flag, and whose coffin will be draped by that flag, who gives and allows the protesters to even burn that flag. And today we're here to honor 11 of those soldiers. You know, who are these 11 brave men that were almost forgotten? Well, they were part of the 333rd Field Artillery Battalion, one of 9 African American artillery battalions that served in World War II. Now you got to understand, these 11 men were just 2 generations from slavery. Some of their grandfathers were slaves. We're talking about the Jim Crow Army era, where even people in the Army, generals, thought that these black soldiers were uneducated, inept, and that they did not have the skill set to be successful in combat. Well, that's what was thought. What ended up being is that these 333rd Battalion, including these 11 men, their reputation grew quickly in World War II. They were highlighted in Stars and Stripes as the most proficient artillery battalion of World War II. To give you an example, there was a Tiger tank that was killing Americans. These men of the 333rd shot 4 shots, 2 direct hits, destroying the Tiger tank from 9 miles. Okay? They were so good that they could get 3 shots out of 155 millimeter rounds out of 1 tube in 45 seconds, where the rest of the artillerymen, white or black, the average was 1 shot in 3 to 4 minutes. And they were highlighted in magazines, the Stars and Stripes. In fact, it is part of their success why I believe they were so brutally tortured, unlike some of the other people that were executed on that day. Now, what you need to know about this is that these men thought that they were going to be a reprieve, because Eisenhower at the time, it was so snowy, it was so cold, nobody would engage in a military offensive. It was just too cold. The canteens would freeze. The water-fed machine guns would freeze. No sane person would engage, so they thought they were going to have this winter camp. Well, Hitler wasn't so sane and decided to make his last big gamble. And hundreds of thousands of German troops, including, unfortunately, the 1st SS Division of Hitler's most brutal force, went across the border, hundreds of thousands. That day began the Battle of Bulge on December 16th, 1944, and 20,000 Americans were taken prisoners of war on that day, most ever of World War II. These 11 men, as capable as they were, escaped, and they escaped. And for 30 hours they traveled, frostbitten on their feet, their hands, no water, no food. Of the 11 men, they had 2 rifles and low ammunition. And they came across a house and they sought shelter, and this Langer family gave them shelter and food, bread and water, and threw logs on the fire and gave them heat. And for an hour, they had a little peace. Unfortunately, a neighbor noticed that they had went in, and you understand, this is the first time the Langer family had ever seen a black person in their life. Okay? And this family took them in. But unfortunately, a neighbor turned them in, and the SS ended up taking them 900 yards away and brutally murdering them. And I'm going to share the details. Their skulls were crushed in. Their jaws and nose were broken. They had bayonets through the eyes. Fingers were cut off. They were brutally tortured and massacred. And why was it almost forgotten? Because on December 17th, there was another massacre, and I think it was that same SS unit, 25 kilometers north in Malmedy. And those soldiers were executed, but not tortured, 86 of them. And that got all the attention. And why? Why did those 86 that deserved attention get all the attention, but the 11 didn't? Well, obviously, I will share with you that the 86 were white, and so I believe race played a role, because Hitler believed African Americans were less than human. And there's no doubt that that's one of the reasons they were tortured. But I think the other reason they were tortured is because of their success. The Germans had learned that this 333rd, including these 11 brave souls, were that good. Unlike what they were thought to be, they were the best. In fact, they eluded capture, much to their dismay. And then they were executed and brutalized. And so, as it was told in the story, for years, these men never, you see these medals on my chest, they didn't get them for decades. They didn't get a Purple Heart. They were almost forgotten, except for brave People like the gentleman here and the Langer family who said, I refuse to let it be forgotten. And so it is an honor, an absolute honor for me to stand before you in recognizing these brave 11 men that helped secure the freedom that I enjoy every day of my life. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Start keeping it. Please welcome Dr. John F. Robinson, United States Marine Corps retired, Director of Veteran Services for City of Worcester, Massachusetts.
Say good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. I generally like to paraphrase when I talk, but I also brought something to read today so I can hit all of the key points, not just that the 11 went through, but also their families and loved ones to follow. First, I want to say that I want to thank Chief Buttman and all the dignitaries and officials and politicians that are here today. Thank you for coming out and honoring us with honoring these 11. I want to thank Chief Buttman for bringing this to my attention. Believe it or not, I went to a director's meeting in October, and I stood up at the end of the director's meeting and said, anybody here heard of the forgotten 11 or the worth 11? One person out of 236 of us heard of the forgotten 11. So this is a story that we need to tell, we need to spread the word and the message, not only here, but across America. And never let the forgotten 11 or the worth 11 be forgotten again. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, fellow citizens, today we gather to honor the legacy of the 11 extraordinary individuals whose courage, sacrifice, and devotion to this country have long been overshadowed by the cruel forces of prejudice and injustice. These men now known as the Forgotten 11 or Worth 11, were African-American soldiers who served their nation with unwavering dedication during World War II. Their story is one of bravery, sacrifice, and unyielding commitment to the ideals of freedom and democracy, ideals that heartbreakingly were denied to them, even as they fought to defend their rights and our rights. The Forgotten 11 were members of the 333rd Field Artillery Battalion, a segregated unit of African-American soldiers. These men served in one of the most dangerous and pivotal campaigns of World War II, the Battle of the Bulge. On December 17th, 1944, during the German Army surprise counteroffensive in the Ardennes Forest, chaos erupted. And I just want you to think a minute, put yourselves in that moment and just think what these 11 went through, and not only them, the 33rd. The 33rd position near the front lines found itself under relentless enemy attack. Despite their valor, they were forced to retreat, and in confusion, the 11 became separated from the main unit. Stranded behind enemy lines, these soldiers sought refuge in a small village called Worth, Belgium. A family, an ordinary family like yours and mine, took those soldiers in, befriended those soldiers. They took the soldiers into their home, they offered them food, shelter, and a brief moment of respite. But their safety was short-lived. Betrayed by a local informant, the 11 soldiers were captured by the German SS troops. What followed was an act of unspeakable cruelty. The men were brutally tortured and executed, their lives stolen in a horrific display of hatred and disregard for human life. The sacrifice of the Forgotten 11 is both a statement to their courage and stark reminder of the injustices they endured. Yet when the call to serve came, they answered it without hesitation. Their service and sacrifice demand that we confront an uncomfortable truth, that even as they fought for our liberty abroad, they were denied it at home. These men dreamed of lives filled with possibilities, lives of family, careers, and contributions to their communities. But those dreams were cut short in a foreign land, far from the people they loved and the futures they had hoped to build. Think for a moment about their families that they left behind. Mothers and fathers who would never see their sons return. Wives and sweethearts who would grieve the loss of a love in a partnership in a future marriage. Children who would grow up knowing their fathers only through stories that they heard in photographs. These families bore the heavy burden of loss, compounded by the knowledge that their loved ones' heroism was overlooked for decades. But for today, we say no more. For too long, the story of the Forgotten 11 remained untold. Their sacrifice was not acknowledged in the history books, their names not etched on monuments of remembrance. It was only through the relentless efforts of the Battle of the Bulge, Central Mass Chapter 22, and their families of the fallen that their story came to light. Today, the site in Worth, where they were murdered, in a place of solemn remembrance marked by a memorial that honors their courage and sacrifice. The story of the Worth 11 challenge us to reflect on the meaning of service and sacrifice. Those of us that serve, we always hear, and it's embedded in us and we're taught, service and sacrifice. These men gave everything for our country that had yet to fully embrace them as equals at that time. Their story is not just one of tragedy, but also one of resilience and hope. It reminds us that the progress we have made and the work that still lies ahead. Their legacy calls us to build a nation where no one's contributions are overlooked. Let us honor the memory of the Worth 11 by ensuring their story is told, their names are remembered, their sacrifices are celebrated. They were more than soldiers. They were sons, they were brothers, they were husbands and friends. They were fellow soldiers. They were Americans who embodied the highest ideals of service, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. As we sit here today, let us pledge to carry their legacy forward. Let us teach future generations about their courage and their sacrifice. Let us continue to strive for a nation that upholds the values these men fought and died for, a nation where liberty and justice truly is for all. May the memory of the Worth 11, Forgotten 11, inspire us to live with greater purpose, to commitment, to confront injustices wherever they may exist, and to honor the sacrifices of all those who came before us. Let us ensure that this story is never forgotten again. Thank you for inviting me today, and please spread the word with any and everyone, and we hope to make this an annual event to pay homage to these Forgotten 11.
And now, an invocation by Captain Alex Liu, Major USAF 66 ABG HC Hanscom Air Force Base Installation Captain.
Morning, everyone. About a month ago, Chief Butman reached out to us and asking us to provide an invocation. After I researched the story about Worth 11, and I feel honored to be here to pray for these brave souls. Please join me in prayers. Mighty God, on this day that we come together to pay tribute to these 11 GIs of the 333rd U.S. Field Artillery Battalion, and to all African American service members who served courageously during World War II. 80 years ago, our brave American GIs fought in the most catastrophic war in history, marked by the Battle of Bulge. Their heroic actions deserve the recognition and honor. And sadly, not all who pay the ultimate prices were properly recognized, but they would never deny the sacrifices that these brave souls made in service to their country. And today it inspires us to pray for this suffering world, for ending enmity and strife between nations, for ending inequality and injustice, for ending discrimination and persecution, and for ending violence and war. So we pray for compassion over dominance, love over hatred, and peace over war. May the nations choose to embrace one another rather than to wage war against each other. May we all learn to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger, for the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. For all these things that we pray in your holy and gracious name, amen.
And now, each cadet will say the names of the ones that we are honoring today.
Name your family.
Private First Class D.W. Turner was born in Columbia County on March 11, 1926, but little else is known about him.
At age 26, Sergeant James Humphrey Stewart was a more seasoned GI. Born in 1906, he had nearly 20 years of pitching baseball for Piedmont, West Virginia's semi-pro team, the Piedmont Colored Giants. Many who knew him openly wonder why he never moved forward with his professional baseball league. He enlisted in the Army in December 1942. His baseball skills were highly prized at Camp Berger. Fourth grade, William Pritchett was from Wilcox County, Alabama. He was born May 5th, 1922. He may never have been married, but was known to have had a daughter.
Private First Class George Martin of Texas.
Tech 5th grade Nathaniel Moss of Texas.
Private James Weatherland, Mississippi.
Private Robert Green of Georgia.
Staff Sergeant Thomas, Ford, Mississippi.
Private First Class George Davis. He was born in 1922 and was drafted in May of 1942. He was short in stature and was lovingly known by his comrades as the Georgie.
Corporal Major Bradley was enlisted, born 20 March 1917 in Mississippi. On December 2nd, 1943, he married 20-year-old Eva Green.
Private Curtis Adams of South Carolina.
Fallout. I just want to thank you, everyone, to be here today. It's an honor to be here, even though it's my first time in doing that. I feel proud to be here. I feel proud to be part of this unit. Thank you, Chief William Buttman, to share this story with us. Thank you for being here today. And This concludes the 18th year of Remembrance of the Forgotten 11 heroes who sacrificed their lives during the Battle of the Bulge. Let's never forget their courage to go to war and their bravery to survive. May they never be forgotten. Thank you for coming.